So, Aries, let's have a look to see how your year is going to pan out from spring equinox or March equinox 2026 right the way through to March equinox 2027, i.e. the astrological new year that we're just about to enter into. So I'm going to be looking at it from the perspective of how each of the positions of the planets are likely to affect you for this upcoming year ahead. Where is your focus going to be with each of them? And then also about the circuit of inspiration. That's what I'm calling it, this amazing shape created by exact aspects around exactly the 19th to the 23rd of July. And then also a couple of key points. So let's get going. So there's lots of different things going on. And if you want to know the full scoop on all of these things, just go into the first section where I really explain it, not from your Aries ascendant perspective, but from a very sort of holistic perspective. But anyway, this from now on in is for your ascendant sign. So this is using a whole sign model of astrology. If you've got, if when you look at your birth chart, you've got Aries and a bit of Taurus in your first house, then it's also worthwhile listening to the Taurus forecast. Most likely you use Placidus. So anyway, the first part of the picture is to understand the nodes. Now, the nodes are always showing you where you're currently learning and what maybe is a little bit difficult to learn versus what you've already got under the belt. And what I can really see is you've been learning a lot very recently in the last couple of years about trusting your intuition. It's been one of the hardest points. In fact, you may well have even thought that you were going a little bit mad. And, if people were saying to you, oh, no, I can't see why you would say that, it only adds to that feeling of, well, why do I feel so different? So the North Node, having gone through this part of your chart, and it still is in the sign of Pisces for a little while longer, it's opening up your intuition. And it's a really important thing that needs to happen, actually, because the next part of the nodal journey for you is the North Node is going to be going into the 11th house. When this happens on July 26th and thereafter, there's going to be an energy of working with people towards more of a social goal, working towards people more. There's a lot more collaboration coming. Now, for you to be able to do that really well, you have to have really good instincts. And whilst Aries do tend to have pretty good instincts because there's a lot of defense. You have to protect things. And Aries rising is always on the lookout for potential danger. This is giving you an intuitive edge. You've had this intuitive edge that's been growing, and you're going to need that for when you're working with people, because it's not really your preferred style to work with so many people or to collaborate. You're very much a one-man band, really enjoying that kind of energy and not needing to take permission from anyone. However, what's coming in over the next 18 months after the 26th of July, when the nodes change, is a much more collaborative phase. And so this intuition that you've been learning about is going to really serve you in good stead. Conversely, you already know how to work hard, so you didn't need to learn more about that. And you already know what it's like to develop and really win at your own projects. So, the next incarnation for you about working with others is going to be a big one. So take the intuition, enjoy it, and recognize that it's just upskilling you. Now, speaking of upskilling, Jupiter, who's all about well-being, has been helping you to upskill at home and to focus more at home. He's been helping you to feel actually quite secure at home. Though that said, when Jupiter goes through the the fourth house, and he also has been going retrograde very recently, he's literally just gone direct. That can bring up a feeling of, why am I using the house? What better purpose can I use it for? So to me, it feels like you're expanding a little bit at home. Now, is it that your family's expanding? Is there a new member of the family moving in? Are you needing more space? Have you, just through being yourself, in the way that your personality is developed, has it expanded you out? I don't know. But the next move that Jupiter will be taking, and he's going to be moving into the sign of Leo on June 29th this year. he's going to be going into Leo, and all of a sudden your hobbies and your loves and your passions are going to be really expanding in a big way. Now, this is very helpful because, you know, you're coming into a time of helping and working with other people a lot more. And at the same time, there is this very strong expansiveness that's coming in for you over this next year, really encouraging you to expand on the things that really matter. Now, that sounds like you're doing, you know, equal and opposite things. You know, on the one hand, you're expanding in your own arena, and on the other hand, you're doing it with other people. But this is really important. And it does feel a bit of, you know, you are a little bit at odds here. You know, like life is wanting you to collaborate, but there's this very strong, courageous urge to follow what you're passionate about. Now, one word of warning: if you're not ready for children, or if you've already made the decision you don't want children, then just to be aware, as Jupiter comes into your 5th house, you're coming into a time of fertility. You know, Jupiter expands, and of course it can expand your belly too. So if that's something you don't want to explore, you know, because we birth in the 5th house. So if you're not birthing a child, what are you birthing? You know, this is a time when we often, in fact, for me, when Jupiter came into my 5th, that was when I met my husband. It's often a time when, you know, someone important comes into our life. You know, it's birthing a new emotional, something you're passionate about, a relationship. So there's a lot of personal joy coming in, which could absolutely take your attention away from whatever you're collaborating with other people. However, you know, one of the key energies in this year ahead is to get the balance right between what you're birthing and what you're assisting everyone else to birth. It doesn't need to be really, really difficult. It's just there as a challenge in this year ahead. Now, Saturn and Neptune is showing where spirit is taking shape. Funnily enough, a bit of a similar message, actually, because Neptune is bringing in this spiritual idea of what would really mean a lot to you and what would really work with your sense of what is sacred. And then Saturn is in a conjunction with Neptune for most of this year. And so he's helping to strengthen what it is you're birthing. So again, this birthing energy is really, really strong. And in particular in the summer, around the end of June, right the way through to, well, mid-July, and then beyond, actually, because Saturn's going to be out here as well. Jupiter is going to be in a trine with Neptune, later on with Saturn. So there's this really lovely birthing energy from the 1st to the 5th. It really feels like your body is changing as you're experiencing more passion. And so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if one of the ways that you're creating well-being for yourself could be in physical fitness. You know, if there's something that you're really passionate about, feeling good in your body, to me, this is giving you the energy to really transform, you know, the temple that is your body. Speaking about body, over this year ahead, Chiron is dancing between the 1st and the 2nd house. And, you know, he's going to pop into the 2nd house. He's not going to really do too much in it. He's just there for a short while. However, the fact that he's come out of Aries for the first time is going to be really, really helpful. So when Chiron moves out of Aries, it's going to feel like some of the criticism that you've had, some of the feelings of pain about being you are over. You know, he's been there since 2018, and it can bring up a time when, you know, I know loads of people who've actually had quite a serious illness when Chiron's been in the 1st house. But it can also show where we get ill at ease in our body. And so he's been working on that since 2018 for you. But he's moving out, and he's heading into your 2nd house in the sign of Taurus. And that really is the green light that it's okay to take your attention off the healing. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical healing. Often when Chiron comes into the 1st house, we become very aware of the mental healing that we've been going through, the psychological healing that we've been going through. It can really show where there's been an attack on our identity, you know, where we have felt that it's not safe to be yourself. that it's painful to be yourself. As Chiron starts his move, and he's not completing his move, but as he comes into Taurus more readily, he's encouraging you to rejoin the world, B, focus more on rather than on your wound, but on your gift. Like, why are you here? Chiron is in many ways encouraging you to become somebody who receives, who's open to receiving help, who's open to naturally accepting the gift of admiration and help. So it's not based on how big you are as a character. It's not based on how important you are in your identity. This is just, you're a human being and you deserve help and support. So as Chiron comes through here, I do think you're going to learn to receive some support. Now, it's also a bit of a heads up to start paying some attention to your money. Now, I say that with some excitement. I mean, Uranus has been going through your second house for a long time, actually since around about 2018 as well. Now, when he came into your second house, it probably coincided with some ups and some downs in your money. It hasn't been unstable the whole way. It hasn't always been down, down, down. There will have been some peaks for sure. But what Uranus has done is, he's asked you, where are you looking for more freedom in your money? And so his time of working on this question with you is over. He's now moving you into the third house. Now, from the 26th of April, Uranus is heading into your third house. He's going to be there for the next 7-8 years. He's going to be there and he's going to be encouraging you to have a lot more fun in your local environment. So to me, this is going to be you picking up a lot of new friends, in particular friends who are unusual, friends who are slightly rebellious, maybe friends who are slightly on the outside of things. It's also bringing up a lot more change in the way that you relax and unwind. So to me, it feels a little bit like there's a bit more of a purpose in terms of the people that you have in your life. One word of, not warning, but just something to be aware of, is as Uranus comes around here, you might feel that you are becoming an outsider to anything that seems really normal. Now, it's not that you are an outsider, it's just showing that in your kind of profile right now, there's this energy of new and fresh and unusual coming in. And of course, the moment we start to feel something a little bit different about ourselves, everyone else is also picking up on it. So you're more likely to be attracting fun, spontaneous, well-traveled, very exciting, very interesting people who can hold many thoughts at once and be able to stay, on an equilibrium, and then make decisions from a place of utter openness and transparency. So, I just think you're going to be having a lot more sort of intellectual fun, and it's going to be creating a lot more change in how you express yourself. Now, when we link this into Taurus coming back into the second, as Uranus has left your second house of money and self-esteem, it's really shown that you've sort of freshened something about yourself. Your thirst for freedom outside of money has created this sense of adventure in the world, and that's what's coming up about the new kinds of people coming in. But now, as Chiron comes into your second house, and he's just dipping his toe in this year, and then next year he's really coming in, it's helping you heal the wound of instability with money. So now that you've freed up your thinking around resources, and now that you've freed up your thinking about how much am I actually worth, like what's my intrinsic value, do values matter, and all of that jazz, now there's a softer value coming in. You're coming to learn really why you're here. You're coming to learn a lot more about your purpose. And in that, I think the way you earn money is going to become a lot more reflective of your inner peace. It's also really indicating that when you're out and about in real biological earth, you're feeling so much better. And so the more that your job reflects the earth and the world around it, the easier it is for you to make money. So you might choose to move your desk by an open window, or a window with an amazing view of the countryside, or, all of a sudden you've got lots more plants around you, lots more pets and things like that. It's also really showing an interest in keeping things as natural as possible to keep you healthy. So I do think there will be some dietary shifts along the way. And also, if you've started to expand your amazing body because of your new passions, Jupiter opening you up here, and the changes in your first house, you may well find that knocks on into Chiron moving into the second house. So I think, it is going to change the way you're eating as well, and where you want to be, how you want to, sort of enjoy being alive. So I do think nature's going to come into this a lot more this year. So the final part of this really is in two parts. First of all, we've got the overall Pluto. He's been in the 11th house for a while now. He's going to still be in the 11th house. Like I mentioned at the start with the eclipses, with the nodes, the nodal change into Aquarius. Pluto, he's really showing you that right now, the masses and your wider networks and the call to come together and collaborate with people in large, almost tribes or groups, or things that feel like there's a vision connecting them. That energy is getting stronger. And so even though in this year ahead, yes, you're developing your passions and feeling pretty good about it, there is this underlying pressure to focus on groups and how you can be of purpose within groups. Now, with that, it's going to come quite a bit of learning, and it's not all going to roll out just next year. Pluto's going to be here for another 18 years. And so there's plenty of time to learn this. But one of the things I would just give you a heads up on, wherever he is, he shows where we try to control things and make things just work. But wherever we're trying to control things to just make them work, we end up surrendering. And the lesson here, I think, with Pluto is you might feel out of control when you're collaborating with other people. Like the idea of you've got your name to something and you don't like maybe how it's been executed, and you think, oh God, now my name's attached to this, I don't like it. So there might be that kind of energy, and that will absolutely be something to learn about. And the surrendering point here is to learn that a team creation, you're part of it, even if you're like if your name's on it, even if you don't feel part of it, you still do have a part to play. The surrender point here is recognizing that sometimes what is working for the group might not be exactly your vision. Sometimes we need to allow for other people's creativity to come in around us, and that's a very painful thing to learn, especially for somebody with an Aries rising. It's really painful, but that theme is likely to come up. The next thing that might show up as well is that there might be very powerful, intractable, stubborn people that you're coming across through your wider range of networks. And it may well feel like there are bossy people, like controlling people coming into your life in a way such as you can't really sidestep them. And so there's going to be some learning around how you surrender to that. Now, I'm not saying you should allow anyone to bully you or abuse you or anything like that. Absolutely not. However, this is really calling into question a lot of things that you've believed about yourself, that you can only trust yourself and it has to be this way. Some of the discomfort you might be feeling around people socially is coming from that energy of that you are usually in charge. And so it's a bit of an affront that other people might have some strong skills and be exerting them. So there may well be a bit of a pissing contest, but it's something for you to be working through. And it's not just for next year, but it's an ongoing theme for many years. Now, one thing that's really coming up, and this is July is a really, really strong time. July is huge. There is this circuit emerging, and I've called it circuit of inspiration, but it's coming up. There's Pluto in opposition to Jupiter across the 5th house, where you're passionate about what you love, and the 11th house, where other people you're collaborating with, and they are equally as strong, if not actually a bit more stronger, because Pluto's there and he is really definite. And then there's Saturn and Neptune in Aries, but in particular, Neptune is exactly in this circuit. And then we've got Uranus down here, who's socially changing things. And so things are going to be moving very, very fast around July. It's an activation point. It's like an ignition point. All of a sudden, the things that I've been talking about are really coming into view. I think during that time, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on with the socials, everything that you're involved in socially, locally within your own community, and then slightly further afield, in communities of like-minded people, and also, in terms of networked energies that might help you in your career. It moves lightning fast. So one thing that you might want to be aware of is if you're wanting any change to occur this year, where you might need other people's involvement, you might need other people's support, an idea that's going to change things in such a remarkable way that you're going to have a sudden liftoff. Then around like if you're planning for it early July, get ready for it to ignite around about the 19th to 23rd of July. It's a really strong time. I do think there's going to be a lot of world changes around that time as well. At the same time, your idea and identity about yourself is also being uplifted very, very quickly. And so anywhere where you feel that you are expanding with the things that you're passionate about, that's also going to be turbocharged during this time. And when you add all of these together, to me, it just feels like the ultimate proposition, I would say, this year is to be working on something for the group, but having your own project within a bigger project. To me, that is absolutely going to get all the necessary support you need, and it's going to have rocket fuel behind it. It's going to be really, really good. This is also, I would say, an upliftment plan. It's going to really bring you out of that place of feeling that your identity has been hurt. It's going to bring you into a much stronger position where you have support from your peers and also from people locally. And with that, I would say it's reputationally beneficial. And yeah, finally, I think your dreams can come true. The things that you've been working on personally, in particular children, if that's something you're wanting, I really think that kind of thing can come forwards. Now, a couple of key dates. First of all, and this one's fast approaching, and it's just before Uranus changes signs. But on the 17th of April, there's going to be a new moon in your first house. This is very strong. We get one of them usually, sometimes two, but we usually get one of them a year. And this new moon in the first house is almost like a reset point. So no doubt you're already thinking in terms of, the new you that's coming forwards. I would say this is a very, very strong year for that to happen. This is a year when the new moon, the new you is coming forwards. I mean, after all, you've got Saturn, you've got Neptune in your first house, Chiron's leaving, and I also think the astrological new year is very special. So you might feel this new year, this new you coming in literally from March the 20th. It's going to start to feel beneficial very, very quickly. You're going to be feeling a very strong change about who you are. So that's the first date. Then the second most important date, I would say, would be around the full moon, which is in your first house on the 26th of September. The reason for that is the full moon brings everything fully into your awareness in such a way that you can't ignore it. It's a time when we often feel quite overwhelmed. It feels like there's a lot of patterns coming into full view, so you can't ignore them anymore. You might also feel pressure from the people you're in a relationship with. It may well feel like compared to them, you feel absolutely overwhelmed. And the more you compare yourself to them, the more crazy it feels inside your own head. However, this is a turning point. This is letting you know when you've had too much and actually when you need to take a step back, calm down, and come back into center. The reason to take that so seriously is that when you have a full moon in your first house, it is just so clear to everybody else that you're slightly out of control. And it feels, like when you're on you're cycling and you're cycling downhill and it gets so fast. And if you don't brake and manage it, your wheels start to wobble. That's what's happening. So around the 26th, just find a way to calm, review what's too much, let go of what is too much, and go into a refining stage. And that will keep you on course and not give you that wobble. So anyway, Aries, I hope that was helpful for you. Happy New Year to you. This is an astrological New Year. If it's helpful and you would like some more advice actually based on your personal chart, then get in touch. But if not, have a good one and catch up with you all soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.